It started subtly, as these things often do. A single, high-pitched chirp piercing the dead of night. The first time it happened, I jolted awake, heart hammering against my ribs. I glanced at the clock, 3:07 a.m. I stumbled out of bed, grabbing a broom to poke at the smoke detector on the ceiling. Silence. I figured it was just a low battery and made a mental note to change it in the morning. The next night, it happened again. Chirp. I looked at the clock. 3:07 a.m. This time, a cold knot formed in my stomach. Coincidence? Maybe. I got up, replaced the battery, and tested it. Everything seemed fine. I went back to sleep, trying to shake off the unease. Night 3. I was already awake, staring at the ceiling, my breath held tight in my chest. The numbers on my alarm clock flipped to 3:06. I counted the seconds. 58, 59. And then, right as the clock hit 3:07 a.m., chirp, my blood ran cold. This wasn't a battery issue. This was something else. I spent the next day in a haze of anxiety. I bought a brand new smoke detector, the most expensive one I could find, with all the latest features. I climbed a ladder, uninstalled the old one, and carefully put the new one in its place. I felt a sense of relief, foolishly thinking I had solved the problem. That night, I fell into a deep, exhausted sleep, but I was wrong. At 3:07 a.m., I was ripped from my slumber by that same, solitary chirp. My eyes flew open. It was impossible. A brand new detector, a brand new battery. Why was this happening? I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind. Every night became a ritual of dread. I'd lie awake, watching the clock, waiting for that sound. 3:07 a.m., chirp. It was mocking me. I started to think maybe the problem wasn't the detector itself, but the wiring in the house. I called an electrician. He came over, checked everything from the breaker box to the ceiling fixture. He told me the wiring was perfect, maybe a little old, but completely functional. He couldn't find a single thing wrong. He looked at me with a hint of pity, probably thinking I was just a stressed out woman hearing things. By the second week, I was a wreck. I was barely sleeping, jumping at every little sound. The chirp at 3:07 a.m. was the only constant in my life, a nightly appointment with terror. I started recording it on my phone, needing proof that I wasn't crazy. I played it back for friends, but they just shrug. It's just a chirp, probably an old appliance or something. They didn't understand. They didn't feel the chilling precision of it. One night, desperate for answers, I decided to do something different. Instead of just waiting in bed, I got up before 3 a.m. and stood directly under the smoke detector, phone in hand, ready to record. The house was so quiet I could hear my own frantic heartbeat. The clock on my phone turned to 3:07. I held my breath. But this time ... silence. Nothing happened. The detector remained quiet. I stood there for a full 10 minutes, confused. Did my presence somehow stop it? The next night, I tried the same thing. I stood under the detector. 3:07 a.m. came and went. Silence. The moment I went back to my bed and lay down, it chirped. I shot up. It was 3:08 a.m. It was waiting for me. It knew when I was in bed. This realization terrified me more than anything else. This wasn't random. It was targeted. I became obsessed. I spent hours online, searching for haunted smoke detectors and paranormal electronic disturbances. I found forums filled with ghost stories, but nothing matched the terrifying specificity of my situation. It was always at 3:07 a.m., and only when I was in bed. I started to think about the history of the house. I bought it a year ago. The previous owner was an elderly man who had passed away peacefully in a nursing home. Also, the realtor told me. I started digging. I went through public records online, searching for anything I could find about my address. That's when I found it, an old news article from 20 years ago. The headline made my stomach drop. Local man dies in house fire. cause undetermined. The article was brief. A man named Walter Prescott had died in a fire at my address. The fire was small, mostly contained to the master bedroom. But what caught my eye was the date of the incident, October 26th, and the time of death, estimated by the coroner, was around 3 a.m. The cause of the fire was never officially solved, but the report mentioned a faulty smoke detector. They found it in the debris, batteries removed. My hands were shaking as I read. Was this Walter? Was he trying to tell me something? Why 3:07 a.m.? Maybe that was the exact moment the fire started. The moment his detector should have gone off, but didn't. Maybe he was trying to warn me. That night, I didn't go to bed. I sat on the floor in the living room, the news article open on my laptop. I was scared, but also determined. As 3 a.m. approached, I said out loud, "Walter. Walter Prescott, if that's you, I'm listening. I know what happened. I'm so sorry." The house was eerily silent. 3:05. 3:06, I braced myself. The clock hit 3:07 a.m. and then a sound. But it wasn't the chirp. It was a faint, scratching noise. It sounded like it was coming from inside the wall, right behind where my bed's headboard usually rested. I crept into the bedroom, my phone's flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The scratching grew louder, more frantic. It was coming from the wall where the main electrical wiring ran up to the smoke detector. My electrician had said the wiring was old. What if he missed something? What if Walter wasn't warning me about a past fire, but a future one? The scratching was rhythmic, insistent. It sounded almost like something was chewing. Rats. No, it was more metallic, more ... electrical. It sounded like sparks. I ran to the breaker box and flipped the main switch, plunging the house into total darkness and silence. The scratching stopped instantly. I stood there in the dark, my breath catching in my throat. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the chirping hadn't been a ghost. It was a warning. The next morning, I called the electrician back, my voice trembling as I insisted he come immediately. I told him about the scratching sound. He was skeptical, but I was so frantic he agreed. He came over, and I showed him the exact spot in the wall. Reluctantly, he cut a small hole in the drywall, and we both stared in horror. Inside the wall, the insulation around the main wire leading to my bedroom was completely frayed and blackened. It looked like it had been slowly gnawing itself apart for years. The electrician explained that every night, as the house cooled, the old, brittle wires would contract, causing a tiny, momentary short circuit, a tiny spark. That spark created a small power surge, just enough to make the smoke detector's sensitive electronics chirp. Once, at the exact same time every night. He told me I was unbelievably lucky. The insulation was almost completely gone. Sooner or later, probably within a few weeks, that tiny spark would have been enough to ignite the old, dry wooden beams inside my walls. The fire would have started right behind my head while I slept. My new, expensive smoke detector would have gone off, sure, but by then it would have been too late. The chirp at 3:07 a.m. wasn't a ghost. It was the house's dying breath. It was the sound of a disaster waiting to happen. The electrician replaced the entire section of wiring, his face pale the entire time. He kept shaking his head, muttering about how he'd never seen anything like it. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. The silence was profound, beautiful. The house was finally quiet. Our lines never know for sure if it was the ghost of Walter Prescott, using the only voice he had, or just a 1 in a billion electrical anomaly. But sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I check the clock, and a part of me, the part that will never forget, says a quiet thank you. For the chirp that saved my life. Thanks for watching, and remember to check those smoke detectors. You never know what they might be trying to tell you. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.